And when your mind says no, you say yes. Or convincing, like, for example, something that I would say a lot in my mind and I never even realized was, I can't do this.
Oh, I can't. I think a lot of women go there.
I can't do this.
And you have to reprogram it.
Yes, and reprogramming. And I remember like the first time I heard it and I stuck with it. I rolled with it. 3 years later, I'm still rolling with it. It's not, I can't do this, but how can I do this? So shifting your perspective a little bit. And it wasn't overnight. Like I had to constantly catch myself, and I would get mad if, I would fall into negative mindsets. But then you have to reinforce the positive ones.
Yeah.
And it's not to sound scary or anything, but it's a little bit torturous. You're fighting yourself.
Yeah.
Because whether you've lived 50 years or 15, you live, like all that you know is all that you've lived. Right. And so for those 19 years of my life, I had a certain mindset, and now it was time to switch it up.
I am mentally strong, learn it, live it, level up, regardless what life brings. I will live mentally strong.
My name is Julissa Bruzon. I'm 22 years old, turned 22 yesterday, actually. I have a construction company based in Idaho that I operate here in Miami. I've been in business for 3 years, seeing more success in the last 6 months. But in the meantime, I'm also dabbling into private equity and seeing how I can implement that into my business.
Yeah. So tell me how a young person like yourself gets into business, right? And construction business at that.
Yes. I think it takes a little bit of curiosity, but more than that, just a really big desire to have something different in your life. I grew up very blessed in the sense that, there was never food missing on the table. The one time that my mom and I looked at each other, we opened the fridge and there was no food. A Publix truck broke down a block away from my house, and they were just like, here, take all this food so it doesn't. So I was like, whoa, I've never been hungry a day in my life. God has always provided for me and for my family. But I was restricted in some things that I would see maybe other kids my age would have that I wouldn't, some things that I would have to miss out on. Or if my friends went out in high school and I was using my parents' card, I would feel so bad spending $5, $10. And that wasn't a way that I wanted to live. And I didn't want my parents to continue living. And on the topic of my parents, which I'm going over a lot, but they are a really big part of my story. They have done so much for me, have been wonderful parents, that naturally I want to take care of them. And just because of the cycle of life, they will get to an old age and that they will be more reliant on me. For context, I'm also the only child, so
yes, only Latina girl.
Yes.
Just like
so it's like no one else is going to take care of them except me. And so there was this really deep ambition to, if you want to be someone, if you want to provide for your parents, you have to start now. And now is the best time because, I don't have kids, I'm not married, so it's easier to take risk and lose, which I did. First 2 years were tough.
Yeah.
But it was just a really deep want more than anything.
Right. Yeah. So talk about those risks that you took and kind of, the Instagram story, because I think that's important. Like, like if a lot of my followers are my age and they're, they might discourage their kid to, don't listen to the influencers on Instagram. Don't pay for that. How was that, which would probably be advice that I would give my kids opposite advice that made you successful. And I think it's important to tell that side of the story because, allowing people to find their way, however, because your parents weren't entrepreneurs. You knew nothing about how do you start a business. Did you go to school for business?
I did, but I actually did not learn any business at all from school, which it makes me sad to say, but it's the truth.
Right. So tell us your Instagram story.
Sure. So we're going to keep it very real, very honest. My first job outside of high school, I was a substitute teacher. And during this time, I was enjoying working with the kids, but I had this realization and this deep desire that we talked about. And I'm like, okay, I heard business people make good money. Mind you, I didn't even know, I wasn't even familiar with the word entrepreneur. I'm like, business people.
Oh.
This is how advanced we are at this point.
Right.
And so the Instagram algorithm started picking up on that because, of course, a reasonable 19-year-old would not even pick up a book to read. They were just Instagram business ideas. And the algorithm started picking up on that and started advertising free real estate courses, business events. And I'm like, sure, why not? It's free. There's always an upsale. Nothing's free.
Right.
But I'm like, sure, why not? And that's how I got my foot in the door. And then through that, I started networking, making new connections. I eventually met my team that I have now that I do the construction with.
Yeah. And you know nothing about construction.
Nothing.
Your father wasn't in construction.
Nothing.
And you just learned as you went. So yeah, that's very encouraging to people. So tell me about like mental health, mental strength. What does that mean to young people and for yourself personally as you went through this journey? And how does it show up for you?
I think mental strength, this one's a tough one. Because I sometimes have blurry lines between what is strength and what is self-control. And at least for me, how it's manifested in my life, it's convincing myself or even being delusional with myself. If my reality is, oh, I have $500 in my bank account, I have to overcome that reality and let myself know that that does not define me. And because I have $500 in my bank account doesn't mean that they can't be 500,000.
Right.
So a lot of it was.
Now, did you learn that mindset from following certain people? Have you always had that? Did your parents instill that in you?
So I like this question because it was pivotal. I shared with you privately that I actually had some big losses. I bought into a couple courses, got myself into debt as a 19-year-old. But something I did take from the course is they had this mindset module, which that really did it for me. And it was, hey, practicing. It wasn't manifestation, but more like visualization. And the person that you want to become. And when your mind says no, you say yes. Or convincing, like, for example, something that I would say a lot in my mind and I never even realized was, I can't do this.
Oh, I can't. I think a lot of women go there.
I can't do this.
And you have to reprogram it.
Yes, and reprogramming. And I remember like the first time I heard it and I stuck with it. I rolled with it. 3 years later, I'm still rolling with it. It's not, I can't do this, but how can I do this? So shifting your perspective a little bit. And it wasn't overnight. Like I had to constantly catch myself and I would get mad if, I would fall into negative mindsets. But then you have to reinforce the positive ones.
Yeah.
And it's, not to sound scary or anything, but it's a little bit torturous. You're fighting yourself.
Yeah.
Because whether you've lived 50 years or 15, you live, like all that you know is all that you've lived. Right? And so for those 19 years of my life, I had a certain mindset and now it was time to switch it up. I am very fortunate though that at this time I wasn't that exposed to the world. So I was able to like, I've always heard, and I agree with this, that it's harder to unlearn things than to learn them.
Can't teach it. Old dog, new tricks
Exactly. So I'm really fortunate that I got to learn from scratch almost.
Right.
But there's just things that naturally, if like a parent has a negative mindset, they might not even know it.
Yeah.
But it rubs off on their child. And I started noticing that there was some negative mindsets either from my family, from cousins, or wherever it came from that would stick onto me and help.
Have you ever struggled with depression or anxiety?
Anxiety, deeply. Oh my gosh. I had such a crazy anxiety that I thought I had heart problems. And so my doctors would monitor me with a heart monitor.
How old were you then?
I was early teens, 14.
Okay.
And I was like, anxiety was not a concept in the family. I don't know if it's like a Hispanic thing or what, like old school people, but anxiety is not a thing. You must have a heart problem because what is this panicking all of a sudden? But no, it was anxiety. My heart is perfectly fine, thank God. And it would manifest. I'd be in class and all of a sudden my heart is racing like crazy. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm sweating. I can't control myself. And it felt like this super tight fear. And then that was really hard to overcome. But you know what's crazy? I had seen doctors that would tell me, oh, practice breathing, try your numbers or counting backwards, X amount of breaths. And so from ages 14 to 18. That's what I would try to do, but the anxiety lived with me. And it was really hard to manage. And it wasn't until I ran into mindset via business ventures that I actually had it under control.
Yeah. I like the word that you said, the word control, because I think people don't like that word. They're like, well, you can't control my anxiety. And that's how it felt when you were 14, right? Like you couldn't control it, but we can control it. We do have the power. And I have to say this, that I love to talk about anxiety as a continuum, because oftentimes people will say, don't be anxious. And as soon as you tell someone not to do something, you're just making it worse. You're just making it worse, right? Like, don't think about an elephant. Whatever you do right now, do not think about an elephant.
That's all I'm thinking about.
Right. And the same thing happens when we try to say to ourselves, don't be anxious. But if we think about it as a continuum and we say, okay, my anxiety right now is at a 7 and I'm going to bring it to a 5, that seems more manageable. And it gives you control, right? And you have control.
I like this.
Yes. You use that for sure. For sure. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, like, you were nervous to come and speak. What are the internal dialogues that you're still afraid of?
About speaking or in general?
Just in general, yeah.
I had to think about that one. I think I sometimes have a bit of anxiety around time. I don't know why, but I feel like if I don't conquer Rome today, it just won't be conquered. I like to bite off more than I can chew. And so back to your question actually about starting young, I always had this strange anxiety about that time is so limited. So I don't have to wait until I was done with college, or I didn't have to wait until I had money saved up. I was just like, yep, that is the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. And it's now because what if I'm not around in 5 years? And still, I have this big sense of urgency and not conquering what I want to conquer soon enough.
And do you see that in everyone? I see it in all entrepreneurs. Like, I see it in this whole, group, especially women, and then the older you get, the more you have that time thing. How do you slow down? How do you enjoy it? How do you enjoy the journey?
I haven't figured that part out.
Okay. I
haven't. But it did stand out to me now that you mentioned that it's more around women. And I'm curious if it's like a biological clock thing. Because as much as I love entrepreneurship and want to do crazy things with it, I also have a deep desire to have a family.
Yeah. And
in my mind, I could be wrong about this, the sooner that I reach my financial goals, my business goals, sell off the company, whatever that looks like, whatever my exit plan is, I want to have that ready so that I can do the whole family thing. And
that is a different clock. Yeah.
So I'm curious if a lot of that time anxiety is also like for women.
Yeah. So wanting kids and a family and you think you're going to sell your business before that, or could you merge the two?
We'll see. But like I mentioned earlier, I'm dabbling a lot into private equity, which a lot of it is like scaling, selling, or going public. Yeah. Not interested in running the same company all my life.
Okay.
I get bored easy. So I feel like I constantly need to start something new, or if not, add like a new operation in the business, which is what's happening now. So we have the construction side, and now we're working on a fund to do some private equity ventures. Keep it interesting, keep it fun, keep it scaled.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. What are you learning in your life right now?
Oof. Honestly, that it is what it is. I'm a big overthinker. I don't know if it's an anxiety thing. I'm very over analytical, and I'm like, okay, if I take route A, what are the 30 possibilities that can come from it? And honestly, I would have to thank the new relationships that I formed recently, that they're more easygoing, they're older, more experienced in business, and they're like, honestly, you just gotta take it, go for it, whatever idea you have, go for it, and if it doesn't work out, then it's your job as an entrepreneur to pivot.
Yeah.
Whereas my typical mentality is like, wait, how do I make this as perfect as possible? That then like everything's just rainbows and sunshine, and it works out exactly how I had it pictured in my brain.
But you know about risk. You've already taken risks.
But it's I guess I keep tripping on the same stone.
No more. Don't trip on the same stone. Yeah, find new ones. Yeah, learn from the fall, and then, but you'll, continue to make mistakes and stuff. So who do you see that would need something like the Mentally Strong method?
I'm sorry?
Who do you see in your life that could benefit from something like the Mentally Strong method that we were telling you about?
Everyone in my family could use a little bit of you, to be honest. I do have some friends, my mom also. Mm-hmm. Just in general, you want the best for your parents, especially if they've been good ones. And mental strength, it keeps you going. It's you versus you. Yeah. All day, every day.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You did great.
Thank you.
You did great.